Kirsty Burke and I'm a pastor at Didsbury Community Church in Manchester alongside my husband Tom. And today I want to share a painting with you. A couple of weeks ago, Mick Kane shared this during a class that I participated at NTC. And this painting is by a religious artist and priest called Seager Coder. And during the class we were asked to take a few minutes to pause and reflect on the painting. What do we notice, what stands out to us, and what might be the deeper meaning behind the painting? The painting is called All Are Welcome, and maybe you can see why. Around the table there are a vast array of different people. There's a Jewish man, a prostitute, a downcast woman, a clown, a scholar, or maybe he's a doctor, a rich woman and a refugee. The hands at the top of the table represent Jesus, who is serving and welcoming all at the table. And the thing that stood out to me from this painting was the etchings on the wall in the background. And Mick shared that this is an illustration of the parable of the prodigal son, a well-known parable from Luke 15. And on the wall there are three figures, two embracing each other who are the father and the younger son, and the one facing away who's annoyed and dismayed, and this is the older brother. And that's the figure that really struck me. We know from the parable that the older brother didn't celebrate his younger brother's return. Rather, he was angry and chose to exclude himself from the celebration, to exclude himself from the table, which is what is being illustrated here. There is so much going on in this painting that I encourage you to take the time to just have a look at it and to reflect on it yourself and see what God might want to say to your heart through the painting. But here's what I would like to share with you. We read in Luke 15 that Jesus tells this story, the parable, to the Pharisees and the teachers of the religious law, who were like the older brother. They were complaining that Jesus was associating with sinful people. But their perspective was all wrong. They saw Jesus' actions through their skewed perspective. They wanted to be right with God so badly by remaining pure, keeping clean, that they really failed to understand God's very nature. The older brother's perspective was all wrong too. His perspective wasn't shaped by his father's heart. He was so consumed with his own mistreatment. He had been faithful to his father, yet he had never had such a celebration. He was so consumed with the resentment and selfishness that he couldn't see the situation through his father's eyes. But if he had taken time to understand his father's heart, what was going on in the situation, and to see it from his perspective, he might have responded differently. The father is, of course, the central figure of the parable. He is loving, compassionate, merciful, celebrating over the lost son's return. And the brother's perspective couldn't be shaped by the father's heart because he didn't understand his nature. How could he treat the younger brother this way? And I wonder too, are there times that we fail to see situations through the eyes of God because we haven't taken moments to spend time with our Father, to know his heart and to know his nature? Are there times when our perspective too is skewed by our own selfishness and resentment and perhaps our own mistreatment? A book I'm reading at the moment by John Comer talks about us being made in the image of God. We are made to mirror and mimic what God is like in the world. In order to mirror God, we must know him. We must recognize how he is working in the situations we face, to see the world from God's perspective. And the encouragement here is that we can know the Father. There is always more to know about God and to find out about God. And this parable tells us that he is a good father. He welcomes us with open arms when we seek forgiveness from him, even if we have failed or excluded ourselves from him. He wants to celebrate our return. And so I encourage you to let the heart of our Father in heaven shape your perspective this week in every situation that you face. I encourage you to take time to read scripture, to pray, and to listen to God, to get to know his very nature. Our understanding of God shapes our perspective. Our understanding of God shapes how we live, and we are called to mirror him to the world. So I pray that God's perspective would shape how you live this week. God bless you.